Now, you shot a little movie called Men in Black, which
I directed that.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yeah, yeah. You directed a film called Men in Black. It was just a small film with
yeah,
a young upstart, William something.
yeah, yeah.
But
Mr. Smith.
yes, Mr. Smith, Mr. Will Smith. When you were directing Men in Black, what was it like? Well, that was probably the biggest thing you'd ever directed at that point. I'm assuming the budget was much larger than Adam's Family at that point, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
and then you had Will Smith who was fresh off of Independence Day, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Not yet.
Nope.
It was Men in Black
Right.
first.
Uh, Independence came out. Day came out first, but Will was shooting the last 2 weeks of Independence Day when we started shooting Men in Black. So the only
Oh,
movie he had done was called 6 Degrees of
right,
Separation.
right, right.
That and obviously Fresh Prince, and that's how I knew
Oh,
him.
so he wasn't a star. He wasn't a monster star while you were shooting. He was still Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, who got the lead in a huge studio movie, basically.
That's right.
Yeah, and
That's right.
I guess they saw him on Independence Day or something, and they said, "Hey,
They didn't. They had nothing to do with
yeah,
it. It was,
did you cast him?"
yeah.
Oh,
So here's
wow.
what happened.
Okay.
So I get the script, and Sweetie and I read our scripts together. This is before email, so we got sent 2 copies. Sweetie always gives me a 60-page head start because I'm a slow reader. And we finished the scripts, and I turned to her and I said, Tommy Lee Jones. And she turned to me and said, Will Smith. And I said, who's Will Smith? And she said, oh, have you not seen Fresh Prince? And I go, I guess not. She says, you want Will Smith. And you always do what your wife tells you. So, so the studio and Spielberg and the producers don't want Tommy or Will. They want Clint Eastwood and Chris O'Donnell.
Oh, that's right. I heard about that. Yes, that was the original casting, Chris O'Donnell.
Right. Yeah. So Spielberg says, Chris is in LA. I want you to come to LA and convince Chris to do the movie. He's staying at the Four Seasons Hotel. We'll put you up. So I go out to LA, stay at the Four Seasons, same place I was when Scott Rudin sent me the script for Addams Family. And Chris says, look, I read the script. I think the script has potential, but right now it's not very good. And I also have this other project that I'm being offered that has Stallone in it. So tell me why I should do Men in Black. And I said, first of all, you should definitely do the movie with Stallone. He's really smart. He knows everything about camera. In fact, Stallone fired me off of Tango and Cash
I heard
when I
about
was
that.
a cameraman. So he's really smart. So you should do that. And second of all, in terms of the script of Men in Black, it's not very good, and I don't know how to make it better. And truthfully, I'm not much of a director. So Chris passed. I'm shocked.
Shockingly.
shocked, I say. So Chris passed. By the way, Chris is a really, really good actor.
Yeah.
It's just that my wife told me that I wanted Will Smith. So that's the end of that story. So I lived year-round in East Hampton for 30 years, and Spielberg spent the summers there. And so we were both in the Hamptons, and I knew Will Smith was in Philly at a wedding, and I arranged for a helicopter to come up and fly Will to meet Spielberg.
Wow.
So Spielberg met Will in East Hampton. Will was very funny and charming, and they agreed to let me hire Will. In fact, Independence Day didn't come out until about 2 weeks before we wrapped principal photography on Men in Black. So I had 18 weeks before Will was a movie star. He was just a television star, so that was easy for me. The last 2 weeks, when that movie opened, Will became a movie star.
Did he become a movie star in those last 2 weeks?
He's always been great. He's always been relaxed and funny and irreverent. Yeah.
Yeah. That must have been amazing. And how was it working with I know you did some visual effect work in Addams Family, but Men in Black was a whole other world.
Yes and no. The truth is, I was very lucky to have hired Rick Baker to do the creature design, and Rick taught me, and it's something I believe in to this day. Rick taught me that anything you can do with puppets, or you should.
Mm-hmm.
And so like all the worm guy scenes in Men in Black, our rod puppets, we built. We always placed the worm guys so that we could have rods coming through a wall behind them, because then you can ad lib. Then your actors are working with other actors, because all puppeteers are funny and charming and are members of SAG, and they have senses of humor. So you can. There's a line in the first Men in Black which wasn't written. I threw it into the set, which is, I said to Tommy, ask the worm guy pouring you coffee if it's the same old shit today. And the worm guy goes, no, Viennese cinnamon. Which was my favorite kind of coffee when I lived on the Upper West Side, was Viennese cinnamon. Cinnamon infused in the bean. So you couldn't do that with visual effects, because most visual effects supervisors and designers and animators, their strength is not comedy.
No, right.
And also, I got to tell you, I really, really, really don't like the look of most modern visual effects movies. I cannot look at those Marvel movies. They disobey they look like video games.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, they disobey all rules of physics. You can't have Hulk in the foreground on the San Francisco Golden State, the San Francisco Bridge, super close up, and all of San Francisco in the background also be in focus. As soon as you do that, as soon as you don't play depth of field, the audience knows it's not real. The audience knows they're watching a video game, and it just takes you out of the movie. So like even the whole ending when D'Onofrio's spacecraft that he's stolen from the World's Fair crashes into the ground and comes racing up to Will and Tommy, and
mm-hmm.
it breaks through the Unisphere. Those were all miniatures. They were giant miniatures. They were all 20, 25, 30 feet big. But it was all shot real. Because if that was whenever you go to visual effects, you can put the camera anywhere. You can cheat. You can play with depth of field, and the audience knows it. So truthfully, I always thought that Men in Black was a buddy movie with a few visual effects. If you look at it again, it's very rudimentary. I mean, it's real and it looks great, but there's not a lot of VFX in it. Really.
I guess you're right. It is a lot of miniature work there. I mean, it started getting a little bit more like by 2 and 3, there was a little bit more visual effects in it. But the first one, I think, you're right. It was very more pure in the sense of in camera, as much as you could.
That's right. Whatever you can do in camera, whatever you can do with puppets, even if they're, radio controlled puppets or whatever. The whole Men in Black 3, the whole Cape Canaveral thing and all that, that's all visual effects. I mean, we built a big set, but, it's way enhanced and all that. But the first one was not a big visual effects movie. But I've always been comfortable around visual effects. It's why? Because visual effects require pre-production. And we talked about this earlier at NYU
mm-hmm.
when film stock was so expensive.
Yeah.
I always design shots way early, because the worst place to ever make a decision is on a movie set. The worst place is not knowing where you want the camera, and you look out the window of the set and the crew is all lying on like sound blankets and stunt pads or playing Frisbee, and a day is a couple of $100,000 a day to shoot, and you're wasting time while crews are sleeping.
Yeah.
That's devastating. So visual effects requires the same thing that low budget requires, which is everything is pre-planned and there are no surprises.
Men in Black reminds me of like 48 Hours with aliens, basically, in a sense like that, because it is that buddy cop movie and they're complete opposites and stuff. I'm trying to, I'm just cranking my brain back, and I can't think of a movie like Men in Black or like the buddy action sci-fi. I think it was the first one to do that. Am I wrong?
I don't know because I'm not a film buff, but you might be right. What's the other one? Midnight Express. No, not Midnight Express. What's the Brolin, Josh?
No, that's Midnight. No, that's Midnight Run. But I'm talking about sci-fi.
Midnight Run.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is Midnight Run is like 48 Hours in that it's a buddy movie, this comedy disguises this big mob thing. And in fact, I always felt that Marty, whenever there were those big chase scenes and police cars, I didn't want that. I wanted more buddy stuff. So I think Men in Black may have been the first buddy science fiction movie, but I don't know. I don't want to take credit for it, but I will say it's a buddy movie. And
no question.
Will and Tommy's chemistry was fantastic.
Yeah, that's the thing that people, when directors and filmmakers don't understand, chemistry can save you in so much. Like when you have good chemistry with actors, it can save bad production value. It could save other things, like because people are so drawn in by that chemistry. And you could, Will just oozes chemistry, like his energy. Yeah. But mixed with Tommy Lee, who is completely opposite, but it's kind of like the yin and yang just works so beautifully together.
It's George Burns and Gracie Allen with Will Smith as Gracie Allen and Tommy Lee Jones as George Burns. And in fact, Tommy on the first movie hated me because he thought he was in a comedy and kept trying to be funny. And I kept explaining to Tommy that you're going to be funny by doing nothing. You are the audience's point of view. You are the reaction shot. The reaction shot always gets more laughs. You're the straight man. And he didn't understand comedy at all. Will loved him. I loved him. Tommy loved Will. I loved Will. We all loved each other, but Tommy really had a problem with me. Luckily, he loved Will, so it was okay. And the other problem with Tommy is he's like a little kid. He was always playing with the neuralizer and breaking them. And whenever they had to shoot their guns, because they were space guns, and they didn't make any sound, and we didn't have squibs, he would make a sound. So he'd go, cut, Tommy, don't make the sound of the gun. I didn't. Will, Tommy, yeah, you did it again, sir. You made the sound. No, I didn't. Tommy, Will's telling. All right, and we do 8 takes where Tommy would, one after another,
pew, pew,
because
pew.
he couldn't go like that and not hear a sound, so he would do it. So he was making the gun sound.
It's fun.
But it was great.
It's funny that my short film had the same problems in it that Men in Black did because I had guns and my actors would go pew pew. I'm like, dude, stop that. We can't. You're ruining the audio.
Right. And we're seeing you make sounds.
That was the thing.
Mouth.
Pew pew. It would you gotta stop to the pew pew or the choo choo.
Oh. Yeah.
That's amazing.